This is Movie Night with the Boys.
Hi, welcome to Movie Night with the Boys. I'm Zach,
And I'm John.
and we're a podcast that talks about movies, TV shows, and video games. And today we are talking about Miss Marvel, the season finale, and Stranger Things, season 4. So, John, take it away.
Alrighty. So this episode of Stranger Things, the last episode called No Normal. The episode starts with Damage Control pursuing Kamran and Bruno while Kamran still hasn't figured out his powers and how they work. Kamala tells her family about her powers, but they already know because her father was told by her mother and he does speakerphone. It was kind of a funny thing. Yeah, her sister-in-law asks if her powers are limitless or if they need to recharge, which I thought immediately Green Lantern.
No, you didn't.
I totally did. I totally did.
No, you didn't. You got that from the fucking video.
No, I really didn't actually. I I wish I could say that was true, but this is the one time that I think I knew something from DC. So her mother presents her with her newly made costume, which, as far as I've seen, is comic accurate. She makes her way across town using her powers to find Bruno and Kamran.
Did you notice what the costume was in?
No, I didn't.
It's in a milk toffee box.
A hell of a carryover from like episode, what, 2 or 3?
Episode 1.
Is it that far back?
The bangle comes in a milk toffee box. Then
You're right.
Then it's referenced again in the grandma's house,
That's what I thought was the first appearance of the toffee box for some strange reason.
which would have also been episode 5,
Was it that recent?
4 or 5.
I thought it
I'm
was
pretty sure
further
it's
back.
5. When that was when they're in Pakistan. So yeah, episode 5.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be 4 because episode 5 was basically that 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So Kamran and Bruno have hidden at the mosque, where Damage Control almost immediately, I should say, shows up looking for them. The Sheik helps them get away, complete with the traditional Marvel ball cap disguise.
Yep, like every fucking superhero puts a baseball cap on, like they're gonna be fucking such a fucking disguise. Like, get out of here. That's so stupid.
I mean, at least they didn't have the aviators to go with it.
Yeah, well, at least Kamran actually is calling him Bruno now instead of Brian. So
yeah, there's that too. So Kamala meets with Bruno and Kamran in the alley after they escape, where she's doing this thing that you mentioned this the other day when you were watching the episode. The CG right there is awful.
yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't recall it looking so bad in like the first time when she started, like episode 2. It didn't seem so bad, and then all of a sudden, the last episode, it just looks like shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Am I playing the Marvel video game? Like, what's going on? Like, CGI was ass. I don't know what the hell they were doing.
Especially right there, it was so bad. I mean, visual effects teams, I guess they got
Like,
limited
but I will say it's honestly just for when she's moving on those like platforms.
Yeah,
All the
power
rest
use
of
is
the
great.
all the rest of the CGI stuff is okay, but like yeah, I don't know what they were doing with those platforms.
Yeah. Did you feel when she was running through traffic, kind of like Spider-Man the first time he used his powers in, I think it was Amazing Spider-Man?
A little bit, but not really. Like, I don't know, that was stupid. She stops at the stoplight. Like, I don't know. That was dumb.
So after she meets up with them, Kamran's powers seem to like start bursting out of him, which doesn't really get explained. I don't think he just kind of explodes, sort of, not physically but powers wise. Then it stops.
Well, you got to remember too, like the powers are like kind of linked to their emotions and or also their hormones. So like
Oh yeah,
I would assume it's to their emotions, right? So
yeah,
he's feeling all fucked up. He's not able to control his powers, right? So then that's why when you see him later on, you know what I mean? Like he's not just exploding everywhere, right? He's calm, so he's not.
yeah. That's fair. That's fair. So after that, they make their way to the school to try to hide from Damage Control. Kamala calls Kareem, the Red Dagger, to get help with Kamran's escape. We assume, obviously, back to Pakistan. They meet up with Nakia, Zoe, and Kamala's brother in the school, where she comes up with a plan to stall Damage Control, who've actually found them there already, Home Alone style.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I like the callback to the the first episode with the plan.
Yeah, I love it too. Like the guys get into school and they think they're about to get exploded, and it just starts playing Indian music. I'm like, okay, that
It's
was
like a
funny.
disco ball killed me. While they're there waiting for damage control, the main guy tells the lady, the one that no one seems to like, to stop because they don't want to make a scene. It's already public. They're already getting a view. And she says no. I mean, she tells me yes, but then she's like, no, we're just going to drop everything we got on this whole thing. Which I still think she's a Skrull.
Why though?
That's,
That still doesn't make any sense. Like the why, like even like okay, so even if it is a scroll though, like why would the scroll be obsessed with these power people? Like you know what I mean? Like they're not. Like you know what I mean? The scrolls that we have seen haven't been like that. So like so
yeah.
I just wanna know like where do you get that from? Because yeah, the scrolls don't act like that.
Well, but we know secret invasion's coming, and it's obviously not the Kree that are going to be invading
No, we could
because they're
talk.
not shapeshifters.
We'll get into that after.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you what Secret Invasion is. What I think it is,
Okay.
at least. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'd like to get into that.
Because yes,
Um.
in the comics, yes, that's exactly what it is, right? But it
Yeah.
seems like the Kree are good in this, right?
Oh, the
In the
scrolls.
MC in yeah, sorry. No, yeah, the Skrulls, right? Oh, so you think it's a Kree?
No, I think that
Or you think it's a you said
I
it
think
you
that
thought
there's
you
two sects of scrolls. I think there's good scrolls, and I think there's bad scrolls.
and then we might get super scroll. Maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I still don't think it's the scrolls though, because unless they're like legitimately just played Fury, and you know Fury's pretty paranoid. So I mean that's
Yeah, that would be kind of weird for him. I mean, especially since he's up in space with them, right?
yeah, like wearing shorts and shit on vacation. So like
Not wearing any shoes.
yeah, like he's straight up like his guard is completely down. So like I mean, I don't know if the
Yeah.
MCU is gonna go that way. So I don't think it's gonna be a Skrull invasion for a secret invasion. I think it's gonna be something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. There's at least a handful of invasions that I've heard about. So, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Kamala tells Bruno about what happened to Naja and Pakistan, and control enters the school right after that. Zoe sends out a TikTok asking for all of her followers to tell all of their people to come and meet them at the school and help them out with damage control, and apparently it works. So as the plan is working and Kamran and Kamala are hiding, they end up holding hands, and their powers seem to like react to each other.
Again, emotions, right?
Yeah, it must be. So they end up almost kissing right before Bruno shows up and distracts damage control with his callback to his dance moves from the wedding. They fucking cold clocked him with a gun, which was like a pretty big shock for me.
I mean, there were stun guns.
Yeah, but they didn't
But
shoot him.
yeah,
They fucking hit him with the gun.
I don't
It
remember
was so
that.
aggressive. Yeah, he was dancing and one came like bum rushing into the side and just fucking
Oh,
head right in the head with a gun. It was so fucked up. So and then everyone else gets caught too. The brother Zoe and Nakia get surrounded. You see them all get caught up and arrested. Kamran and Kamala are in the bathroom, and a guy busts through the window, and they're almost caught. But Kamran ends up using his powers to almost attack the guy, where Kamala stops it from actually hitting him. So they get out of there, and he seems to take a dark turn, like he's almost about to go bad when he finds out about his mother dying, and it was pretty aggressive, which definitely ties back to the whole you saying emotions
yeah,
reacting for sure.
yeah, because he was pissed.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, it was his mother dying.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So he ends up leaving the school, and he's almost shot by damage control. Crazy thing to have not refilmed in this day and age. I guess it is what it is. Kamala jumps out the window and protects him with her light shield, and they bust out this big like sonic weapon that is definitely Stark inspired, and they blow her whole shit away for a moment, and she starts to crawl around and then says "Embiggen," and you would know a lot more about this because I'm sure it's more of the comics tie-in, but she gets big and
It's her
long-limbed.
it's her catchphrase.
Oh, okay.
And that's what people that's like that yeah, that's what people call her powers, right? So like in the comics, like she doesn't really like stretch like Reed Richards, right? So that's why I mean, so you see how her powers manifested, right? Her feet got bigger and her legs extended and her hands got big
Yeah.
and her arms got longer. Like that's what her power is. She doesn't stretch like, you know what I mean? Like she doesn't stretch like Reed
It's more like
Richards.
expansion.
It's in beginning.
Yeah, okay. All right. I mean, I
She
played the game. It does.
she embiggens yeah exactly what I mean right like like she does like I guess she could be stretchy like that but like she like whenever you see her using her powers it's not like that it's like she makes her hand bigger like again too and like Reed Richards can't make his hand bigger like that. He can flatten his hand out and stretch it out, but like it's not like they're different power sets, right? So
Elongating and embiggening.
yeah, that's the thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, like the embiggening was definitely more comic accurate, but like so and that's what I mean. I don't know why they're doing this whole crystal thing. So
Yeah, hopefully that gets explained later. So she kicks ass for a minute, and then Kamran starts like doing his power explosion thing, and all these crystals start forming in like waves almost. They're just reaching out all over the place. People are starting to almost get hurt, and Kamala, like stops him by wrapping them both in this like light made cocoon that she formed around them, and she kind of convinces him to just stop and see that he doesn't have to be the bad guy, even though he tries to tell her that they'll never accept them.
she
Yeah,
calms him
yeah,
down and, settles his powers. So
Hulk style. Hulk, the sun's getting
yeah.
real low.
Yeah, she's
um,
stroking the palm of his hand
I'm sure that's all she was stroking.
for now.
Yeah. So Kamala gets him to stop, and she gives him a chance to run away underground by punching a hole in the ground.
Fucking Ninja Turtle style.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So
go.
all the
You could
people,
get to the harbor from the sewers. Like, how do you
yeah,
know that?
she's an expert of sewage.
I guess.
She's crawled around those ground tunnels for years. So all the people that saw Zoe's TikTok showed up and were seeing basically everything happen as it was going down. And once Kamala releases the cocoon thing, everyone starts to surround her to protect her. The cops form a line to stop the damage control people from approaching her. And as they're getting their way through, she jumps up and does her light steps and gets away.
Yep. With more bad CGI.
Yeah, that's really it. It is the only bad CGI. Everything else looked really good.
Yeah, it's literally just like yeah, whenever she's like moving around, even at the end, like when she just came down off the light pole, looks stupid as hell.
So the damage control guy calls up the lady and fires her basically, says she's relieved, and makes them all leave. Then there's a montage of TikToks praising Kamala, and after that, we get her at her house. She's sitting on her roof, and her father comes out, struggles, of course, to get out of the window because he's an old man. It's kind of funny. He sits down and he explains that she is named Kamala.
Don't forget, already said this in the first episode.
Yes.
You remember that? So
Yeah, you did call
yeah,
this.
I didn't call it. Like that's just I just what I'm saying is I already explained what her name means, right? Like
Yeah,
I did all that. Like they did that. They pulled that straight out of the comics,
that's
right?
good.
And yeah, like I stated in episode 1 or 2, right? I'm pretty sure it was episode 1.
Yep.
Yeah. So
But he essentially tells her that her name means perfect or wonder or marvel, and then he
that
calls
that
her.
that I did not say though. It was just
Yeah,
how
no,
Kamal means perfect. Yeah.
yeah, perfect in Arabic and wonder or marvel in Urdu. And then he calls her there Ms. Marvel, he actually calls her Miss Marvel. And she leaves, and then we get the very well known, even to people like me who haven't read many comics, imagery of her on the light post. And it was really, really a very cool picture just to see it, even if it was obviously in motion.
I was gonna say you do realize that's the promo picture for the series. That's why it's so
Yep.
familiar.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about that scene, right, is she got her costume from her mom,
Mhm.
right, and she got her name from her dad, right. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm doing that.
Is this the first time we have a set of parents that are both alive and have contributed greatly to the life of the superhero? At least in Marvel, I think it is, right?
I mean, for the younger heroes, I guess.
Yeah, I think the only one that we ever got both parents for anything more than just a moment was Thor, because he had Frigga and Odin.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't know. Like Black Widow's parents are still alive. We don't know. Like, well,
Well, that's true.
obviously, Steve Rogers is dead. But like, we don't know about
Yeah,
We don't know about Ant-Man, Falcon. Falcon's. Well, I think Falcon's parents are dead. They could still be alive though, right?
yeah, could be.
You know what I mean. So like, we don't know necessarily. So I wouldn't really make that claim.
Yeah, that's
But
fair point.
yes, they definitely are the most supportive for sure.
Yeah, and they're definitely one of the few that know, like right off the bat, her secret identity and who she is as a superhero.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm
if you're
hoping
not.
that no more Peter Parkers is what I mean.
Yeah.
So a week goes by, and Kamala ends up meeting with Bruno and Nakia, who have acquired Kamran's car. And Bruno tells her that there is more to her genes, like a mutation, which is the first time in the MCU proper that the word mutation has been used as a definition of a person's genetics.
And again, I called the mutation part as well, right?
Yeah.
Word for word.
Yeah, and then we got that little stinger of the X-Men 90s series theme song, which basically 100% confirms that she is in fact a mutant.
Which is weird. So
There
she's a
was a video that I saw about it that I don't know if I agree with it, but the whole concept was because of the fact that when Kamala was introduced in 2014, they didn't want to make new mutant characters because Fox still owned mutants and they didn't want to give them more properties.
Yes, no, I know that story, but the thing is she's not a mutant. She's an inhuman, and I don't know why they're so against putting inhumans in it. Because Daisy Johnson, aka Quake from freaking like Agents of Shield, right? Is Agents of Shield non-canon anymore?
I
Like
think
I
they said
don't.
it wasn't canon, but I could be wrong.
Like it doesn't make any sense. Like it connects with all of the all like at the beginning of Agents of Shield, it was all connecting to the beginning of those movies. Like it's connected to Avengers, Age of Ultron, Thor, The Dark World.
Sif was in multiple episodes. Nick Fury was in multiple episodes, or at least one
Exactly,
episode.
right? Phil Coulson is
The
canon,
entire series.
right? So yeah, I don't understand, right? And Daisy was an inhuman on the show, right?
And then there was
So
Black Bolt and the Inhuman show.
yeah, but that doesn't matter. You can make that non-canon if they wanted to, right? But
Yeah.
the Agents
But
of
they did use Black
Shield,
Bolt.
yes, right? But again, they also used Charles Xavier from the Fox X-Men. So
True, true,
that's
true.
not that in that movie. That's not saying much. But again, Agents of Shield should be canon, and they already have Inhumans. So I don't understand why they're so against using Inhumans. Like they don't even have to. Like she could literally be the only Inhuman that they talk about in the MCU, and then possibly her show could have her dealing with other Inhumans, and then bang, boom, then you can drop some Inhumans. But then you don't have to use them. Like you don't have to use them. You can mention them here. You can possibly have one or two pop up here and there. Like, but you don't have to use them, right?
That's
Like,
true. That's true.
but you know what I mean? Like, just make it accurate. Now all of a sudden she's gonna be going to fucking Professor Xavier's school for the gifted, right?
Now, here's the
All
other
of a
thing that I
sudden,
had to ask. This is the other thing that I have to ask. Is it possible that just because they said mutation, and even though they use the sound, could the mutation still be defined as an inhuman trait?
yes, yes.
So it's still
But
possible, even though they use that
but
sound.
yes, so it goes back to the two theories I had. Well, not it's not two theories, it's the one theory, but when we were talking about it originally and I said it's a mutation of the cells, that's essentially what Bruno said. So he's not necessarily saying she's a mutant, but her genes are changing, like right? Her cellular whatever is changing, right? Which is what I said earlier. And then again, it goes back to my theory. The bracelet can activate something, triggering the Terrigenesis. And instead of it actually being like, a cloud or this rock, like whatever, right?
The
It
cocoon
just,
thing, yeah.
yeah, like it could just be a different way of Terrigenesis, right? They might not call it that, but that's basically what it would be, right? So, I mean, who knows? My
Yeah.
theory might be right because basically, yeah, the whole Jin thing is again just like you know what I mean. So those like all her ancestors, they could have all been Inhumans. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yep. Because
Instead of
it's been thousands of years, right?
yeah, right. But instead of Jinns, you know what I mean? They're just Inhumans, and it's again just like how the Asgardians are considered gods, but technically they're not, right? Which is exactly what is stated in the show earlier, saying, you know what I mean? Like if they like Buddy said, like if Thor landed in, you know what I mean, like in that area, he would have been called a Jinn, right? So the whole Jinn thing, like I said, was just stupid to even bring about because again, it was just completely debunked at the end of the episode. So it's
Yep.
like, what was the purpose of that? You know what I mean? It's so dumb,
Who knows? Who knows?
right?
We're not the writers. So after that, we get the credit scene because obviously there's really nothing else.
Oh yeah, and
Kamala is.
there's one more thing. There was a shawarma reference, which heroes get shawarma
Oh, yeah.
at the end of saving the world. So
Yep.
she said,
Let's go get shawarma.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's one.
Yeah. And then Kamala's in her room, and this is the credit scene. Kamala's in her room. Suddenly, the bangle starts like lighting up and reacting. She stands up, and then something happens. I don't know exactly how to describe it. And poof, Carol Danvers has taken her place. No bangle on her wrist, by the way. Just her usual wrist gauntlet things. So that was
Yeah.
weird.
So basically, right? So the bangle starts to beep. Basically, it's like it's sending out a beacon, just
Yeah.
like how like the Ten Rings was doing at the end of
Oh
Shang-Chi,
yeah.
right? So again, the Nor can be connected to, I have no idea
Talo.
what the Talo, right? No, Talo's
Yeah.
the place. I
Yeah,
guess
it's the
The Nor dimension. So yeah, so Talo and Nor could also be from the same place, or they could just be reacting in the same way, right? Like,
hmm,
you know what I mean? I'm not too sure, but the other thing is the theory is Carol is going to be going to the negative zone essentially, right? For some reason. And so that's going to happen in her movie. And then something's going to happen and she's going to swap places with Kamala. That'll be how Kamala gets brought into the movie, right?
hmm.
And then Carol is gonna have to leave. Yeah, she's gonna have to find Monica Rambo and try and use Sword's resources to get into the negative zone, right? Therefore, trying to figure out how to save Kamala, if that's even a thought, right? If she
Hmm.
even like puts that together that she switched places with somebody. So with that being said, this also brings up like the villain of that movie is probably going to be a nihilist, right? He's King Bug of the negative zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other Bangle could also be there. So the Bangles could actually be the Negabands, not the Quantum Bands, the Negabands. Right? So, I mean, I guess your theory about or thinking that they were the Quantum Bands is close, but again, still theory, but they're
Yeah,
more
it's all
likely
speculation right now.
it's more likely to be the Negabands. So they're saying that the other Bangle is there in the negative verse. And so Carol somehow triggered something that basically activated the bangle. So maybe when Carol picked up the bangle, it activated, and so she swapped places with the other bangle, right? But because she wasn't wearing it, it didn't come with her.
Oh, I like that. I like
So
that.
yeah, that's kind of my theory. So yeah, I'd enjoy seeing Nihilus, but they better not fucking gore the God Butcher him like they did. You know what I mean?
No, he's. I've seen pictures of him. He strikes me as either something extraordinarily large and robotic or straight up CGI.
It has to be CGI. If it's not and they make it like a humanoid, that's stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
no, there's no. That would be like turning Ultron into a person. Just
basically, yeah,
wouldn't
he's
work.
basically looks like Ultron with like fire coming out of his mouth, I believe, and like wings, and he commands, some insect army. So,
What do you
I
hear
mean,
his
that would
voice in
be
your head
cool.
sounding like?
Like a bug creature from like TV, like when you see like in like anime and stuff, like when they have like certain like insect creatures that can speak, that's what he sounds like.
Interesting.
Talks like a bug, like how a bug would speak,
Interesting. All
and
right.
not like the bugs from A Bug's Life. I'm talking about anime bugs, or like just like not Justice League, but like the teen Young Justice, like the insect people on that. He probably sounds closer to that.
Shout out Miggy. I'll give Miggy
So
the call on this one because he talks about Young Justice all the fucking
yeah.
time. Yeah. So I think you got some questions now.
What did you think of the episode overall?
After last week, this was one hell of an improvement. Last week was kind of like a slog to me. This one never seemed to fall except for with the CGI. So I actually really enjoyed this episode. What about you?
I can say I didn't hate it. You know what I mean? Like, not, there wasn't really a fight. And you know me, I'm the combat guy. Like, I'd rather see more fighting than them. Like we said in the last episode, like the DODC being the bad guys, that's crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was
So,
kind of lame.
so yeah, I mean, like it looked good. The story was okay. You know what I mean? So yeah, I didn't dislike it as much as some of the other episodes in the season. So
That's fair. Did you kind of think that we were going to get Kamran as the villain for the remainder of the episode at first when he first started getting angry?
yes and no, yes and no. I mean, it's in his DNA, so
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So what was something you disliked from the episode?
Yeah. Every time you've said it and every time I've thought about it, that CGI has gotten worse.
It's
So
really
yeah,
really bad. It is
Yeah,
really bad.
and it is just when she's running off the ground with the hard light steps. So yeah, that's my serious complaint about this episode is that bad CGI.
Okay.
I assume yours is the same.
Yeah, for the most part. And then the whole you can take the sewers to the harbor. When he jumped down, how did he know which way to go? Like,
How did she even know there was like
how,
a
yeah,
sewer that she
exactly.
could
How
go
did she even know
through?
that there was a sewer there to begin with? And how did she know that it led to the harbor? And how did he know which way to travel to get to the harbor? Right? Because it definitely wasn't just a straight shot to the harbor, right? He had to make turns and whatnot, right? I've seen Ninja Turtles. They're not just straight fucking pipes going all the way down to certain places. There's many, many curves and shit.
I've
So
seen The Dark Knight
that's
Rises. You don't just get there.
yeah, so that's probably my biggest dislike. Like even as bad as the CGI was, that whole like plot like that there was dumb, and I cannot get over that all those for all those reasons. So,
So I'm gonna dub that a plot hole.
who is your favorite character?
I almost say her parents because of how awesome they were. I can't say one person. I'm gonna say her family and friends. They all deserve a big pat on the back for being as supportive as they are. All of her family and friends that were there for her in this episode, they're
That's
all my
not
favorites.
that's not how this works. It's
God
one
damn you. God
character.
damn you. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Kamala. She deserves it. Her
Okay.
family is the other side, but she was really great in this episode. Her acting was solid. Her use of her powers to be both a protector and finally offensive. The visuals with the embiggening was just really, really, really well done. Yeah, Kamala.
Okay.
Well, what about you?
Honestly, I probably have to give it to the agent that fired the shitty agent. So obviously, yours is probably the same garbage lady, psycho lady from Orange Is the New Black.
Yeah, she's a
She's
piece of shit.
she's yeah, she's probably the worst character. So she's definitely my dislike. I'm assuming she's yours.
She had people shoot at a fucking school.
And a kid to boot. So
Several kids. Fuck that
so
bitch.
yeah, but the character I like the most is probably that other agent because it kind of, you know what I mean? Like you just see like he's doing his job. He doesn't want to hurt people, so he's showing you that the DO that you know what I mean. Like I find he's a good representation of the DODC. Like they're not out here to hurt. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
do that kind of shit. Like they just want to
He
make
wants to do the
sure.
right thing.
Yeah, and it seems like they just want to make sure that there is no people with powers just running around destroying shit, right? Would you rather not like know who the person is and know that they're here to help, or would you rather them like destroy a whole bunch of shit and you're just like, oh, they have superpowers, so we'll just leave them alone, right? Like it makes sense to
Yeah.
me, right? But
No, I get it.
I could be totally wrong, but yeah, so I have to give it to the agent, showing that all the DODC aren't pieces of shit.
Yeah. He probably would have taken his shoes off at the mosque too.
Maybe, yeah. So, okay. So, what is your overall rating of the episode?
I have so little complaint about this episode that I'm gonna give it a 9. I think it's deserving of a 9. It was a surprisingly great finale for where Marvel usually stumbles and falls. This one did leave some questions, but ultimately it didn't leave me dissatisfied. So I'm gonna give it a 9.
Okay.
What about you?
My overall rating for this episode I'd probably give it like a 7, you know what I mean? I'm not too impressed. You know what I mean? They still, doing a whole bunch of stupid stuff and not really explaining it. And if it is Kamala getting sucked into the negative zone, I don't see how her powers are going to be explained if she is a mutant or an inhuman. I don't see how it'll be explained in that movie. So we're going to be stuck waiting for an explanation of what the hell she is for I don't know how long, right?
Can I ask another question about the negative zone really quick?
Yeah,
Can people breathe in there?
I think so. I'm not really too versed on Nihilus, right? I don't know. I have no idea.
Seems kind of a strange thing. I'm sure it'll get explained away.
Yeah, well, it's like when you see a nihilist, he's like invading the Earth, right? And then like if they're out going into like the negative zone, it's usually like a space team. So it's usually like I don't know if they have breathe. I have no idea, man.
All right. Well, that season is over, which means
What is your overall rating of the entire season?
see, as good as this one was, this season finale being a higher point than most of the other Marvel shows, there was still so much slog in the middle. And the fact that they didn't make the clandestine the actual villain of the series was really dumb. Like, they should have just kept it them. So that takes me down, and I can't confidently give this overall more than a 7.5, even as good as this last episode was. So yeah, a 7.5 for the season. What about you, sir?
All right. Well, I've been really generous with my ratings, but it's kind of hard to rate, you know what I mean, lower, because then you kind of feel bad because the show wasn't terrible,
No,
right?
definitely wasn't terrible.
But it also wasn't good. Like, it wasn't really good, I guess. I'll give it that. It was okay. You know what I mean? It was watchable. So I want to give it a 5. Like, I want to give it lower, but like, I'm gonna give it a 5. It's watchable. It's watchable.
So you liked this show less than you liked Thor Ragnarok? I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was very generous with all my Thor ratings. If anything, all my Thor ratings, you could probably reduce them all by 1 and go 6, 5, 4 for my Thor ratings, which
So
brings
then me and you would agree on Love and Thunder then.
Love and Thunder thing. I never said it was a good movie, and I never disagreed with you. You know
No,
what I
but you
mean?
did rate it higher than me.
But I stated why I rated it higher, and that's
Yeah,
the only reason why I did, right?
yeah.
But I mean, realistically, yes, I guess I could have just rated it a 5 and gave it the same rating as Thor 1, right? Because they are both bad movies. So, but again, that's what I mean by I'm generous, right? So I would actually shift everything and give Thor 1 a 4, Love and Thunder a 5, Ragnarok a 6, and Dark World a 5. So, yeah.
I don't know. I think I still liked at least one. Admit no, not at least one. Maybe I would still think now. I haven't. I'd have to watch it again to really give a second opinion on it. But I still think I liked for sure. I liked Dark World better than I liked Love and Thunder. But I still think I might have liked the first Thor more than Love and Thunder too. But I'm not versed in mythology as much as you are, so you obviously had more room to complain.
But you did. You rated Thor 1 higher than you rated Love and Thunder. So you do
Yeah,
enjoy Thor 1 more than Love and Thunder.
yeah. Well, I let it sit for a few days to make sure that I felt that way because as much as I am a dick writer of Marvel, as you've put it, I wanted to be
His
unbiased to the
words,
best of my
folks. He
ability.
said it.
I could put the screenshots on Instagram. Ms. Marvel has ended, and then the show did end with Ms. Marvel will return in the Marvels, and that's coming out next year. So we'll see what happens to her then.
I don't know. I have zero expectations now for anything Marvel property.
Well, if they cut the comedy out a little bit,
They're
just
not, though. Look at the fucking next show coming out, man.
I know She-Hulk's gonna be apparently a funny show too, and I don't know. I'm
I watched it.
gonna watch it.
I just watched the extended trailer and I was like, dude, this show looks so shit. It's just as corny as Thor, right? Like, I don't even want to watch it. I don't even want to watch it. And the worst part is it comes out on my birthday. So,
Oh no! So you have to watch it.
ugh, I'm sharing something with this garbage show. Yeah, I'm not looking
Uh,
forward to it. I'm not looking forward to reviewing it. Heads up, people, get ready for me ripping this garbage show apart because it looks just as bad as Love and Thunder.
well, that will wrap our Marvel segment, and we're gonna jump over to Netflix to talk Stranger
Single
Things.
female lawyer.
And now Zach's gonna tell you about episode 1, season 4 of Stranger Things.
So I'm gonna start off by prefacing that these are gonna be very quick breakdowns. We don't want to have everybody stuck here for 3 hours as we describe each episode. So
Yep.
we will be very quickly running through descriptions and then we'll talk about the series as a whole at the end. So, episode 1. So we start off with a flashback of the facility where 11 was and we see some kids training. Then we see a small event of like it looks like 11 killed all the kids, right? Then we jump into and then we see everybody at the end of the events of season 3. We see them basically a year later, or it's 8 months, right? Pretty much a year,
That's a year.
whatever. So we see that 11 is living with Will and his brother Jonathan and their mother Joyce, and they're in California. And 11 is struggling with like fitting in. She's being bullied. Joyce gets a doll from Russia with a note saying Hopper is alive. Meanwhile, in Hawkins, we see Mike and Dustin. They've joined the Hellfire Club, which is basically just a D&D club, and this is where we get to meet Eddie, which is one of the best characters of the season.
Oh yeah.
We also see that Lucas is now on the basketball team, so he's hanging out with the cool kids. Lucas and Max, they broke up, and Max has been struggling with the death of her brother Billy from the last season. When we meet this new character, Chrissy is a cheerleader, and she's being haunted by, I don't know, like at this point, we have no idea what's going on with her, right? So she goes to meet up with Eddie to buy some drugs, and she wants some stronger stuff. So Eddie brings her back to his place, and while at Eddie's place, she gets possessed and killed by Swamp Thing. And that's the end of episode 1.
Swamp Thing.
Go ahead, John. Tell us about episode 2.
All right, episode 2. So now that we know Hopper survived, we find out that the explosion at the mall wasn't something that killed him, but knocked him out, and where he was actually taken by the Russians. He's been imprisoned for the entire 8 months since then.
Fucking commies.
We see that the police have found the body of Chrissy at Eddie's house. Eddie ran. Murray has flown in to help Joyce with the note that's from Enzo, stating that Hopper could be basically saved for $40,000 if they bring the money to Alaska. Mike ends up visiting Eleven in California, where she's being bullied. First, she tries to play it off like she's not being bullied, that the people that are her bullies are actually her friends. That backfires. She ends up trying and failing to use her powers and ends up being humiliated by the bullies. They basically just start making fun of her and pouring a shake on her, all the while recording it on camera.
They don't pour that shake. They throw it in her face. And it was the
Yeah,
guy.
that's true, yeah.
And it was a guy who did it too. It wasn't even any of the girls.
Absolute piece of shit.
If Mike wasn't such a pussy, he should have beat the hell out of that kid.
Yeah, I don't think I would have sat there and watched it happen.
Oh fuck no! I would have been hitting him over the head with the skate, just like
11 does to Angela.
exactly.
So she does that to Angela. It messes her whole it messes up her nose, but she's freaking out.
Yo, straight up, she had a little cut on her nose. Like,
And
get
she was
over
in
it.
fucking full panic mode. Max tells Dustin about Eddie running away because she saw it happen. So they, along with Robin and Steve, go and find Eddie and explain the Upside Down to him. And Dustin and Eddie come up with the name Vecna for Swamp Thing. Nancy and Fred, another one of the student reporters from the school, go looking into Chrissy's death, where Nancy talks to Eddie's uncle. And he tells her about Victor Creel, a man from Hawkins who is locked in a mental institution for allegedly killing his entire family.
I'm gonna point out here, I'm still calling him Swamp Thing. Watch on the Instagram. I'm gonna post a picture of Swamp Thing and Vecna side by side, and you guys will see what I'm talking about.
You be the judge. Fred is drawn to the nearby woods by visions of a girl that he accidentally killed, where he ends up being caught and killed by Vecna Swamp Thing. And that is the end of episode 2.
Yeah, who the hell was that kid? That was so random. He just died. He just
I
killed him randomly. Like, what? Okay.
I feel like it's people that are like corrupted by like the feeling of responsibility for death or something, or maybe survivor's guilt.
I guess. I don't,
I
because
mean,
like,
Max has survivor's guilt from Billy. What's his name there? The kid that died third. He was seeing flashbacks of someone that died around him, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't recall them, the third guy, I don't recall them showing anything with that. And then Chrissy, again, nothing with that. Like, it was her mom tormenting her. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily like people dying. I think it's like PTSD.
Yeah, trauma. Yeah.
People who suffer from that, like serious things. Because Nancy too, later on, like he gets her, so it can't
Yeah.
necessarily be
Just that.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Episode 3, Zach.
So the episode starts, we see Sam Owens is visited by Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan, who is blaming Eleven for Chrissy's death. We then see Eleven is being arrested for assaulting Angela, but she is taken by Owens and his men. Owens explains Hawkins is in danger and he might have a way to return Elle's powers. Elle agrees, goes with him. Joyce and Murray fly to Alaska. Joyce and Murray fly to Alaska to deliver the ransom for Hopper. Hopper bribes a fellow inmate to break his restraints. So Nancy and Robin go to the library to look up info on Victor Creel, and they learn that he blames the deaths of his family members on a demon. Jason, the douchebag from the basketball team, leads the rest of the basketball team to hunt for Eddie, thinking that he killed Chrissy in some sort of demonic ritual. Like, these people are fucked. Like,
God, the 80s were a crazy time.
yeah, satanic panic, fucking terrible.
Quick little side note before we get too far away from this. Victor Creel was played by none other than Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund.
Yeah, so he probably did kill his own family. So Max recalls Chrissy was visiting the guidance counselor before dying. So they decide to break into the school and steal Chrissy and Fred's files. I have no idea who Fred is.
Fred's the kid that died in the second one.
Oh, the kid with the glasses, the nerd. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they take the both of their files and they learn that they both suffered from PTSD symptoms, similar to Max's own PTSD symptoms. Max starts to hear Vecna's voice, and then we see a grandfather clock in the distance. That's the end of episode 3. So tell us about episode 4, John.
Episode 4. So we get Max dealing with her fate. She's basically accepted that she's gonna die by writing letters to everyone that she cares about. After that, we get Nancy and Robin. They've come up with a plan to try to talk to Victor Creel. So Nancy and Robin come up with a plan to try to talk directly to Victor Creel. After that, we see Joyce and Murray. They're betrayed by Yuri, who wants them to be basically prisoners and turned into the Russian government for more money. And he ends up also getting Hopper and Enzo over to a worse situation for even more money on top of that. So Hopper ends up escaping the prison camp that he's being held in, but unfortunately, because of Yuri, he gets found pretty much immediately in his little hidden warehouse thing. Jonathan, Mike, and Will plan on trying to sneak away from the guys that are basically protecting them. But before they get to leave the place, the house is attacked by Sullivan's people, presumably.
So right here, we have to point out though that the way that they're trying to escape is they call the pizza guy, which is
Argyle.
Argyle, which is Jonathan's buddy, right?
Stone a friend.
So their plan was to escape, call pizza, and then escape out the window while they were distracted and leave in the pizza van. So
Yeah.
that was their
Didn't
original plan.
quite go that exact way.
Yeah.
So the soldiers they seem to have killed one of the guys. The other guy puts up a hell of a fight, which I was really impressed by the fact that he was using a pistol way better than those guys were stormtroopering through that building with assault rifles. He ends up getting shot in the side, and all of them make their way to Argyle's truck, where he's freaking the fuck out, and they tell him to drive, and he gets the fuck out of there. Well, they all get the fuck out. So after that, Nancy and Robin manage to get in to speak to Victor Creel, again played by Robert Englund, where he tells them about how a supernatural force tormented and killed his family, meanwhile himself being blamed for it, because who the fuck's gonna believe that shit exists?
Yeah, like who's gonna believe a demon kills your wife and daughter?
Yeah. And he reveals that the voice of an angel is what brought him back from the same fate, basically.
No, didn't he say music?
He said the voice of an angel, and then he started humming that song.
Ah, gotcha.
Then we get Max, Lucas, Dustin, and Steve. They're all at a cemetery where Billy happens to be buried. Max is there reading the letter she wrote to his tombstone. Then she starts having her next vision, which we get a vision of Billy, which was nice to see him back for even just a moment. I liked him in the last season.
I don't know if I'd call that a vision. I would say that's her being possessed. No.
Well, it starts as a vision and then she becomes possessed because she's sitting there just kind of convulsing and doing her shaking, and then she rises as
Yes,
Vecna has caught her.
but that's what I mean though. Like when she goes and she has those visions, that's when her eyes would roll back in her head. So
Yeah, that's
technically,
true.
that's all part of the possession.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, she's possessed. Well, we're not. Well, everyone else is seeing just her possessed. We're seeing Billy saying she wished he was dead and kind of tormenting her. She runs away and comes across what seems to be his house, but all broken up. Vecna's house. Vecna's there. He's asking her what she's doing there. He gets to her. In the real world, she's rising up, and Robin has been trying to get through to Dustin on his big ass huge walkie-talkie. They tell him, Robin and Nancy tell him that music is what's going to basically bring her back. Lucas pulls out Kate Bush's running up that hill, puts the headphones on her. I should have said rising later because she wasn't rising yet, but she starts to rise while she's got the headphones on, and it somehow manages to open a portal back to the real world, just the music. Still kind of strange thinking about it now. But she manages to rip off a piece of whatever tentacles are on his neck, gets him to let her go for a moment long enough to make a run for it. He tries to get her with all these things flying at her and vines coming at her. She makes it out, and that's the end of episode 4. Lay it on us, Zach. Episode 5.
So we see Owen is taking 11 to this abandoned silo in Nevada, where he and Dr. Brenner, the douchebag from the, I guess, beginning of the series,
Papa.
same at Papa, the guy that basically brainwashed these kids and experimenting on these kids. So that
Absolute piece of shit guy.
that Dr. Brenner, right? And so we see that he's created a special isolation tank that allows Eleven to access memories from her past time with the other kids at the Hawkins lab. Eleven tries to escape, temporarily regaining her powers, and she is then convinced to stay, right, and continue with the experiment. In California, Agent Harmon gives the boys a number before dying, and they end up calling the number and it connects them to a modem. So Mike comes up with the genius plan to enlist the help of Dustin's girlfriend, Susie, in Salt Lake. Now, Dustin, I'm pretty sure, has never met Susie, so his friends get to meet his girlfriend before he does.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little sus. That's a little sus. So we see Hopper is imprisoned with Anatov. While flying to Russia, Joyce and Murray subdue Yuri and they end up crash landing in a forest. Then we see Max, Lucas, Steve, and Dustin regroup with Nancy and Robin and decide to investigate the old Creel house. Inside, they see flickering lights and they follow it up the stairs, and this leads them to believe that they can track Vecna's movements in the Upside Down. Jason and the basketball crew actually end up finding Eddie, and Eddie tries to escape in a boat. He rows out into the lake, and Jason jumps in, and this man can, like, I don't know if Eddie is just terrible rower, but like Jason's like clearly catching up to him. And another guy, Patrick, jumps in afterwards. And then Vecna grabs Patrick and kills him in the lake. And that's the end of the episode. Episode 6, John.
So, episode 6. Police end up talking to Jason about Patrick's death. He's clearly messed up about it. Sullivan ends up torturing the surviving guard from episode 4 to try to figure out where 11 is. 11 ends up reliving memories of the friendly orderly that said she shouldn't trust Papa. She also relives the other children actively trying to put her down and make her feel like she wasn't good and she didn't deserve to be there. Susie ends up helping Mike and the others find Nina. She does her fantastic internet sleuthing skills. There's a town meeting back in Hawkins, and the parents of all the Hellfire Club kids are all scared because Jason and the basketball boys are basically inspiring the town to pursue the Hellfire Club as Satanists. Dustin and crew head to Eddie over at Skull Rock, and on the way, Dustin's having trouble with his compass, and he figures out that the compass isn't working because of the gates. The gates are making a magnetic pull that affects the polarity of the compass. So they figure out as a result that there is a gate nearby, and they basically trace it over to the lake where Patrick was killed.
They also come to the conclusion that the gates open up at all the murder
The
sites.
spots where people were murdered, absolutely.
Yeah.
Third, back in Russia, Hopper reveals his knowledge of the Demogorgon as him and the group of people that he's imprisoned with are about to fight him, or it. And he explains that it has a weakness to fire. Joyce and Murray make Yuri help them after Murray kicked the dog shit out of Yuri on the plane. And Murray pretends to be Yuri to get to the prison that Hopper is in.
No karate.
I gotta say, man, Murray was the fucking shit there. I loved him in that shit. That was so funny. So Dustin's group ends up getting to the lake where Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Eddie go back onto the boat, out to the lake, and try to look for where the gate is. Steve dives into the water, goes out, finds the gate. He comes back up, and as he's coming back up, Swamp Thing's tentacle is also reaching for him clearly, and it grabs him and pulls him through, and of course, Nancy, Robin, and Eddie follow. Steve is getting attacked by the bats that are living in the Upside Down, and cliffhanger end of episode 6.
Why couldn't they have killed Steve? Fucking
Or
Steve.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
I think I would have rather Jonathan go than Eddie. And now, Zach, episode 7.
We pick up with Joyce and Murray, and they're entering the prison, and they witness Hopper and the other inmates fighting a demigorgon. Hopper holds it back with a flaming spear, while Joyce and Murray subdue the guards, and they get into the control room and start opening up all the doors. Right? So doing that lets Hopper and Anatov escape, and Joyce and Hopper are reunited. So Dustin and crew figure out Vecna's created doors at every murder site, and they relay this information to the group in the Upside Down. They all reunite at Eddie's trailer at the gate where Chrissy died. As everybody escapes, Nancy gets possessed. And I don't like, was Steve about to go before Nancy? Or Nancy was supposed to go and she got possessed?
I think she was supposed to go and got possessed.
Okay. Either
'Cause,
way.
Steve's an idiot, but he's not a piece of shit.
I don't know.
Well, he's a piece of shit to other men and most women, but he loves Nancy.
I guess he's trying to get in them shorts. Well, if he ever did in the first place. So yeah, so Nancy gets possessed by Swamp Thing. It's then revealed that Swamp Thing is Victor Creel's son, Henry, and he was the one who killed his mom and sister with his powers. And then he fell into a coma. Then he was placed into Dr. Brenner's care, and this is where Henry becomes number one,
Mhm.
which means there was 10 more kids that went through all that same bullshit, and then 11.
11 being one of them.
Yes, exactly.
So 2 through 9 were a bunch of pieces. 2 through 10 were just a bunch of pieces of shit.
I guess not all of them, because remember we met 7 or something in one of the seasons, and she was like
Yeah.
she was like a sister to 11. So
Yeah, that
not
went nowhere.
not all of them, but yeah, that was pretty useless because we never hear or see anything about them again. I don't even remember what happened to them. Well, whatever, right? And then we also see that Henry becomes an orderly, right? That same friendly orderly that was telling, don't trust Papa, all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
At this same point, Elle remembers that it was Henry who killed all the kids and, did all the damage and just killed everybody in the labs, right? He's the one who committed the massacre. And so when he tries to recruit her to his side, essentially, 11 rejects his offer and they basically go into a force battle. So they're basically just sitting there, force pushing each other, right? And Elle ends up getting the upper hand and she slams Henry into the wall, right? And basically opens up a portal to the Upside Down, sends Henry through it, and then we see Henry get electrocuted and his
He gets
face burns
Palpatine.
off, and then he turns into Swamp Thing. So I didn't realize Swamp Thing was related to lightning, but yeah, that's the end of episode 7. So
You say
tell us.
lightning, Swamp Thing. I say he got Palpatine.
So yeah, tell us about episode 8.
Episode 8, The Return from the Break. So this episode starts with a flashback to young 11 just after sending Vecna into the Upside Down for the first time, then flashing further back to when he was just 1 and getting his first tattoo. Or his tattoo. And it turns out we're just seeing what Nancy is seeing. She's looking around and seeing everything happen. And then we find out that Vecna is showing her and he wants her to go and tell 11 his plan and everything that's happening. So back in Russia, Hopper, Joyce, Murray, and Enzo continue trying to escape, now knowing of several Demogorgons, as well as the fact that the Russians were experimenting on them. They also come across a black sandstorm, which is basically the Mind Flayer, and that's encapsulated in some room, but I don't even understand how the fuck they have that.
Well, actually, that was a really cool revelation because you're like, why is this fucking weird kid, Henry, playing with all these fucking spiders, right? And then you see he made the Mind Flare, which is basically a big spider,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's pretty
That's
cool.
cool. Yeah, yeah. 11 is brought back from what appears to be near death, and she's able to use her powers again. Mike is telling Will that he thinks 11 won't need him anymore, but Will tells him that she will always need him. And this is when we come to find out, and I found out that this is confirmed today. Will loves Mike, and he's gay and loves Mike.
That is completely obvious. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that didn't even need to be pointed out. Like, I'm
yeah.
not saying like you pointing it out. I mean, like for showrunners to come out and say that yes, Mike is in love with Will. Like, it's fucking obvious. Like,
Yeah, it was very very clear that with that specifically, like, and you felt bad for Will, like you could tell he was, at least the actor was emoting it really really well.
well, it's because he's the only 25-year-old on the cast. So
With a bowl cut, the poor kid. That's why he was crying, because of that fucking haircut.
yeah. I wouldn't call him a kid. That's a man, right?
Without
All
makeup,
the
he has a full
others,
beard.
yeah, all the others are 19, 18 through like 19, and then he's 25. He's like the same age as his brother and Nancy. Like, it's ridiculous.
He's also like 7 feet tall, which is so insane.
I mean, so is Mike though. Mike is extremely
Yeah,
tall too.
Mike is a beanpole though. He's like fucking. He weighs nothing. all of his weights in his clothes and his hair. So Papa tells Eleven that Vecna is killing to allow the Upside Down to take over the real world. So then she meditates to go and make sure her friends are okay, going to where Max and all of those ones are. She sees Nancy telling the group about her vision, and Max realizes that he only needs 4 gates to actually make his plan work. 4 gates, 4 kills, 4 bell tolls. So with that, they resolve to go and kill Vecna. Back in Russia again, Hopper's group has escaped from the prison, and they make Yuri promise to bring them to America. Yuri, the slippery-tongued devil who's probably lying.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
not.
yeah, not this time. Not this time. Because fucking Enzo says if you fucking betray us again, I'll kill you. I don't give a shit. Enzo is a badass. So Nancy's group steals a motor home from the trailer park, and they go to buy weapons to use against Vecna. I see the point. I don't understand the logic. This man is powerful, and you think guns. I mean, clearly,
He's a psychic.
yeah, but he's also a demon. Or
No,
it comes off as a demon.
yes, but they've also come across the realization of who he is. He was a normal person. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, so it actually makes
Wait,
sense.
did they know he was normal?
Yes, because she sees
Oh
him
yeah,
as,
that's right. Because
as
that's right. Because of
Henry
Nancy.
and
That's
stuff,
right. That's
right?
right. Yeah, you're right.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. So this back and forth from Russia shit. Hopper and the rest of his group they make their way to Yuri's safe house, and Yuri has this helicopter essentially. That he is, I don't know, he's fucking weird. But he says that it'll make it to Alaska or to America. And Hopper says that he wants to try to call Owens. And so Enzo goes through whatever it is in Russia that you have to do to make an outgoing phone call to another country, and tells them that they might have to wait for days, hours, whatever. It's unknown. Back in America again, Nancy and the group are buying weapons, and they narrowly avoid getting followed by the jocks that are looking for Eddie because they want to kill him too. Mike's group, finally, they are looking for Nina with the coordinates that Susie gave them, and Argyle, of all people, finds the tracks of the military vehicles that are going towards the site. We see that the military vehicles are approaching, and it turns out to be Sullivan. They've got like 5, 6 Humvees and a helicopter flying in. So we find out that 11 wanted to leave. Owen says it was her choice. Papa doesn't seem like he wants it to be that way. And then as 11's getting ready to leave, we find out that Owens was taken and beaten. As she says she's still going to leave and threatens to kill Papa, he takes a big ass needle and stabs her in the neck, sticks it in her neck to drug her, and she almost is able to kill his ass, like within a second or two of his life before she passes out. She wakes up. All of a sudden, she's got this, I don't know, was it like a shock collar? I don't know what the fuck kind of collar it was, but she's got this collar on that's going to prevent her from using her powers against Papa again.
Those
And
are
then
called
suddenly,
those are called inhibitor collars.
is it an inhibitor? Okay. I wasn't sure exactly what the purpose was. I didn't really remember seeing it before. Sullivan and his group of military dudes bust in. They break down the front door, and they basically lay everyone to waste. Papa takes 11 and a bunch of scientists that are leaving out a back door. Papa gets outside with her. He's carrying her. All the scientists are dead, and then you see a helicopter with a gunman. The gunman shoots Papa in the arm. He still tries to make a run for it. Gunman fucks him up. Gets him in the leg, gets him in the back through the chest. He drops 11. They're looking to get the shot. Sullivan's talking to Owens, and Owens is like, no, don't kill her. She might, you could be wrong about this. He says no, gives the permission to kill her. Just as the gunman's about to take the shot, he gets distracted by Argyle driving, or Jonathan driving, someone's driving. They're driving up, and when they go back to look at 11, she is no longer lying down. She's standing up, and she starts to use her powers. Really, really cool. She fucking makes it start to spin out like crazy, throws it up, and then smashes that shit into the ground. Blows up all the Humvees. Really fucking explosive battle. Nice, cool shit. Papa's lying there, dead on the ground, basically. Still alive, but barely. Just as Mike and everyone shows up, he lets the collar off of her, and he tries to tell her that he did it for love, and he hopes she understands, and she just says goodbye. They make their way away as Sullivan and his soldiers leave the facility. Papa dies, and they get away. And then Nancy and her group head to take their fight to Vecna as the episode comes to an end. So yeah, and now for the full-length feature film of a final episode of season 4 of Stranger Things.
Tell you right now, mine is nowhere near as long as what you just did. So watch me condense 2.5 hours. Let's get it.
Do it.
So we pick up with the group, and basically they enact their plan. Max, Lucas, and Erica go to the Creel house, while Steve, Nancy, and Robin go into the upside down counterpart to attack Vecna. Then we see Dustin and Eddie, right? They're trying to set up a distraction to draw the bats away from the other group. So we get some crazy dope ass guitar licks from Eddie on top of the trailer. Like
Yep.
he's just, ripping some upside down chords, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
he's playing Master of Puppets by Metallica. Fucking fantastic.
yeah, right. But so then all the bats basically show up and Dustin and Eddie get overwhelmed. So Eddie ends up sacrificing himself to basically save Dustin because Dustin got bit in the leg or something, right? We then see Eleven's group and they basically create an isolation tank for her to enter Max's mind and to basically help them fight Vecna. I can't remember how they knew about the plan that they were going to use because the other group came up with the plan to use Max as bait to draw out Vecna. And so it's like, how did 11 know that was the plan?
I think it was when she was meditating on my episode. She was listening in to Nancy tell them about what she saw in the vision, and she was there for the plan before they left to go get the motorhome.
Okay. All right. Well,
So I think she
okay.
was sitting in for that whole thing.
All right. So, yeah. So 11 enters Max's mind and basically starts fighting with Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing overwhelms 11 and ends up possessing Max. And he reveals to 11 that he has controlled the Upside Down ever since she sent him there. Mike professes his love to 11, giving her the strength to break Swamp Thing's control over Max. But Max dies from her injuries. The power of love. The fucking power of love. The biggest anime bullshit trope. Hopper, Joyce, and Murray re-enter the prison and kill the remaining Demigorgons, weakening Vecna. Steve, Robin, and Nancy set Vecna's physical form ablaze and shoot him out of a window, apparently killing him. 11
He was all
then
Rambo style.
yeah. So then we see the group. At this point we see Max and she's kind of dead. So we see 11 use her powers, right? And she basically brings Max back to life.
Think
Okay.
D&D lay on hands.
Kind of, yeah, right. But with Max dying, this allows Vecna's 4 gates to activate and just tear through Hawkins. Then we see 2 days later, the town is recovering from the earthquake. Like, we see the town just get outright obliterated. You know what I mean? And we see everyone is reunited. Max is in a coma, right? And we see everybody visit her. Will is able to sense Vecna is still alive, and the Upside Down begins invading Hawkins, and that's the end of the season. So here's my thing. If they're going to do a time skip, which is unnecessary because all the kids from Stranger Things, except for Will, are the same age as Kamala Khan, playing the same aged character. So I don't see the issue there. And if they're going to do a time skip, you're telling me all these people left the town of Hawkins all fucked up like that for whatever length of time skip they have? Makes no sense. Why would it not just pick up from where it left off and then go and finish off the Upside Down? Like, that makes absolutely zero sense.
I have no idea. And we're probably gonna have to wait 2 more fucking years to find out.
Yeah. So I don't know. All right. So what were some things you enjoyed from this season?
Eddie freaking Munson. That man, he stole the show this season.
I'm not asking you about your favorite character.
I know. I loved Eddie. I thought, let's see, what else did I actually really liked the concept of Vecna. I liked that whole, he was one and end up being like basically 11's exact opposite, but still equal, I guess. I thought that was a really cool concept. I don't know that I liked 11 having to get her powers back the way that she did, though. So I know that's kind of a segue into something that I didn't like. Yeah, there are things that I can complain about, but I liked Eddie a lot. I liked Dustin a lot. I thought the acting was great this season for the most part. I didn't really have too much to complain about with the acting. Even Erica, who I thought was kind of a shitty actor in the earlier seasons, she was too young and you could tell she was a kid.
Who the fuck is
But
Erica?
Lucas's little sister. I found her to be less annoying this season than I remember having this feeling of in the past. So yeah, I liked the story. I liked the acting. I liked that the CG wasn't terrible.
It was
It was
pretty good.
minimal.
They had good practical effects.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that Vecna scene, the makeup thing, and I didn't realize how much of it was practical until that, which was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of good stuff. What about you?
You probably hit the nail on the head. Like, there's not much else to say, really. Like all that stuff was good, but I think it just, like it just took too long to come out, and I just kind of over it. So, like, I'm not, you know what I mean, as overly excited as, most people were, right? Don't get me wrong, it was good, but yeah, I don't know. I
Took
like
too long.
the same things that you just said, so we'll just go with that.
Cool.
What was something you disliked?
The separation, I thought, I mean, despite the fact that it made sense across the story, having Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle in one place, Nancy and that whole group in one place, and then Hopper and that group in Russia, it just all over the place, so frustrating. So frustrating going back and forth. It was kind of like the Star Wars fights. You're in the middle of this thing happening and all of a sudden you go to a completely unrelated different tone scene, and it's like you're supposed to try to have those reserved feelings for this person or that person as something's happening, and then something else happens altogether. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it probably could have served the series better to, do it that way, like, like go,
A little
do
more linear.
all of yeah, Hopper's shit, and then, do all of Mike and Eleven stuff, or we'll do 11 stuff until till Mike meets up with them. You know, take like one episode and just do each thing, you know what I mean? And if, the whole thing with like Nancy and them, that could have been like 3 episodes, right? And then
Yeah.
they could have just made it so that they could have made it so that it looked like it was all happening like congruent at the same
Yeah,
time,
like
right?
they could
Like,
have done the
so
episodes and then and then the next episode it says "Meanwhile in Hawkins," and you'll see the little
exactly, yeah.
tie-ins.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
That would have definitely made it more betterer.
But yeah, so the thing that I probably disliked is I just lost my excitement for it. So just the amount of time it takes them to get this shit out is just too much. It's too much
Yeah,
time. So like I just wasn't as excited, and it was kind of a slog to get through, not gonna lie. So
yeah, there was some slower points.
yeah. So the overall plot, what did you think? Good,
I
bad?
enjoyed it. I thought it was a good one. Like I said, just in my complaint with the jumping around, that was really the only argument I had with the plot too. You could have made the story linear and it would have been better, but other than that, I really couldn't improve on it too much myself. What about you?
I thought it was okay. Let's just say I didn't hate it, right? But I don't know.
That's your compliment if you like something at this point.
Yeah, basically, right? Like, again, it wasn't terrible, but it was, to me, it was nothing special, right? So they have to really come out with some fire season 5, or else I'm just not gonna care. So
Plot twist: Will is the mind flayer.
was the fucking 25-year-old, 16-year-old. Yeah, I don't know. The overall plot was okay. All the jumping around, and to be honest, I did not care for anything that was going on with Joyce and Hopper. Like, they could have left they could have left all that shit out, you know what I mean? And then Hopper just show up at the end of the episode, and I would have been
Surprise,
happy.
motherfucker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was okay. Who's your favorite character? Well, I guess I already
Uh,
know.
yeah, you definitely know Eddie Munson, 100%. Stole
Yeah.
the whole show for this whole season. He was so good.
And of course, they have to kill him off, right?
Yeah, although I was reading some theories that
No, he's
I
dead.
hope.
He's dead.
Yeah.
There's there's no theories that will change that. Least favorite?
That fucking jock kid, Jason, he was such a piece of shit. Fucking completely just blinded by rage, and I get that he's like the Peter Quill of this series, but that doesn't mean I have to like what he did. He punched Thanos in the face at the wrong time.
No, Jason was trash. Like the when he beat up like when he beat up Lucas and all that shit.
Yeah,
Like it
what a
was
piece of
just
shit.
it was pretty good that like we didn't mention it, but yeah, he got torn apart by the opening of the Vecna gates. So he got his, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
not
he
like we
got
didn't
cut in half.
he,
Fucking good for him.
no, he got full on he did get cut in half, but he fully got disintegrated. Like
Yeah,
the rest of his body got disintegrated. But
yeah,
yeah, so he got his.
yeah. Definitely the
Um
fate he deserves. Fucking pile of shit he is.
oh for sure. For sure.
So what about you? Your favorite and least favorite?
Well, you know me. Favorite's always the villain, right? So,
Love you some
back
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing was pretty cool, even though he looked exactly like Swamp Thing. Look out for that post on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's, you know what I mean. He's probably one of the better things about the season. And least favorite, I have to give it to Papa, like Dr. Brenner, like trash. It is a trash man. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he sucked.
So, would you watch the sequel? Obviously.
Yes,
Yes, I would watch a
yes.
sequel, but you know what I mean? Just don't take fucking 4 years to come out with it.
Yeah. I hope it's no more than two. I hope they're already filming it.
I hope. I really do hope. So, would you recommend it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. What about you?
If you watch Stranger Things, yes, you know what I mean? But I probably wouldn't recommend it until the 5th season comes out, until it's finished. Because I don't want to put people through the same waiting bullshit that we went through. So I wouldn't recommend it right away, but I will when the series finishes, then I probably
Binge it
would.
all together. Binge it all together.
Yeah, we'll watch it at your own pace, but then you don't have to like, get to the end of season 4 and then you're like, "Well, what happens next?
Yeah.
This the town is fucking destroyed." You know what I mean? And then wait 2
Goddamn
years.
cliffhanger. No.
Right? By the time you actually forget about it, then they're like, "Oh yeah, it's coming back." And you're like, "Oh, I literally forgot about that." So yeah. So what's your overall rating?
I can't give this less than Ms. Marvel as a series because I like this more. So I'm gonna give this a 9.5.
Okay.
And what would you say?
I was just very like I've been saying, like I don't know. It's not bad. I'm just not into it anymore. Um but
If it had come out 2 years ago, would you have been probably more into it?
oh, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
But again, it's not bad, so I'm not going to give it a bad rating. Like I said, I'm just not into it anymore. But overall, I would say it was a solid 8, right? So, yeah, solid 8. So,
The man who trashes everything gives something an 8. Hooray!
I usually give the movies I choose high ratings.
Yeah, that's fair. Mine, on the other hand.
Mm, you pick some ass juice movies.
Ass juice. That's an interesting term for a movie.
Well, it's a term that like so in Elden Ring, there's these giant ants, and they legitimately shoot juice out of their like thorax. So they shoot
Ah,
ass juice at you,
gross.
and it hurts a lot. So
Gross.
yeah,
So gross.
ass juice. Yeah, so I guess that pretty much covers everything. So
Yeah.
make sure you check out the Geek Talk Network. That's where you can find us.
Yep.
You can also check out the other show on the network, What in the Anime.
So that one's hosted by Dustin and Tyler, our good friends. They review anime, movies, TV shows. I understand. They also do interviews. They do different segments every week. Sometimes you get battles. More recently, they did Jeopardy with Zach, and Zach wiped the floor with Dustin. And now they have to do another trivia episode just to get their belt back.
Yep, they can try, but
Sorry, Dustin.
I think that belt's staying over here with movie night for a little while
Yeah,
now.
yeah, that was it was definitely a fun listen. Yeah. So yeah, don't forget to
Spoiler
check them
alert!
out.
Spoiler alert! I'm terrible at trivia or movie trivia, but I'm actually pretty good
Yeah,
at anime trivia. So
the hilarious irony between the two of you. So you can also find us on Instagram at MNWTB Podcast, on Twitter at MNWTBoys, on TikTok at MNWTBpod, and on Facebook at MNWTBoysPod. Where else can we be found, Zach?
Make sure you check out our YouTube channel, Movie Night with the Boys! Exclamation mark.
Mhm.
And yeah, like I said, the Geek Talk Network.
And before we go, we should obviously mention the fact that we're covering another movie next week, or in 2 days, not next week now. You're going to hear our cover of Hustle. And speaking of Geek Talk and What in the Anime, we'll be having along with us Dustin and Tyler.
So check us out on Thursday for that. Hustle.
Yep, I think that's it.
Pretty much.
So, Zach, it has been real.
It has, John.
Deuces.
Thank you all so much for listening to Movie Night with the Boys.